let's say we go ahead and work on a hat rig. For now, we can go ahead and just hide our wireframe, and if we wanted to, we can now go to the outer area of our eyes and just hide those again so we can see our character's eyes. It might look kind of weird if we just see the film around them. But for the hat rig, what we're going to want is for the hat to follow the head. So wherever the hat's positioned, we could even have it tilted to the side. But as long as it's following the head, it'll stay right where we like it to be. Or we'd like it to follow the world in case the character ever needed to influence his hat in some way. Perhaps he was carrying it or doing something with it, resting it on a table. But when it comes to situations like that, what we're going to want to do is, rather than having the hat constrained to the hand, we're rather going to want the hand constrained to the hat. We'll get a much better setup that way by animating the object that the character needs to hold. So we're going to need two constraints, one that constrains to the head and one that constrains to the world for this hat. So we need to make sure we add that. So let's get right to it. For the control object, we can use a stylized NURBS circle. So with the hat selected, we can hit up arrow to get to its group and turn on its L array so we could easily snap to the hat center. Once that has been done, we'll go ahead and create a NURBS primitive circle again, and if you wanted to, you could also add that to your shelf. It's getting kind of full there, but once we have that, we're ready to make our circle. So we can hold X and click and drag, okay, and then let go of X and just bring it in a little bit more. Great, so there's our circle. From here, with it still selected, we'll go to our move tool, hold V and vert snap it. Let's try to do this again, vert snapping it right to the center, and it looks like it's there. Good, no problems this time. All right, so from here we select the hat, hit up arrow, and just turn off the L array so we don't have to see that. Then we can fix the look of this circle so it looks pretty cool, a little bit more interesting. Can freeze its transformations, delete its history, and what I like to do is go into a side view and in the side view just fix it out some more, possibly taking these inverts here, bring those down, bringing these top ones possibly up, just so it follows or conforms with the hat, it seems. And then going back to our perspective, let's see, maybe we can take these two ends, bring those back, possibly down some more, and whichever you'd prefer, maybe even bringing these in some more too, and possibly scaling them in a bit more. Okay, so that looks like a pretty nice curve for a hat. Okay, nothing much to it at all. But once we have this, once its position is lined, let's go ahead and give it a name. We'll call it CC underscore hat 01. From here we go to our outliner, and we want to make sure that two things. One, that our group for the hat, let's go to it, is parented, just a parent, right underneath our control. So we'll select the control, okay, after we've selected the group for the hat, and hit P. Great. And now we also need to make sure that the hat will, or the hat control is under its correct group. So we'll open up our scale. With it selected, we will control click our control objects, hit P. And we could also give it a color. I really like to color code the curves because, again, it helps to select them a lot easier. So we can give this a color, and we can give it a color of yellow. That'll be fine. All right, wonderful. So now that this is done, we also know that we won't need it to scale, or we won't need anything of its visibility, so we could just get rid of those attributes. All right, now, once we have this, we are pretty much ready to work on constraining it to the hat and constraining it to, or excuse me, constraining it to the head rather, and also constraining it to the world, similar to what we've done for our chest. So let's go ahead and set that up. Of course, we're going to need a group. So let's first frame this in our outliner so we know where it is. We'll hit Control G to group it. We will call the group grp underscore cc underscore hat 01. And once we've done that, what we could do is make sure that the pivot, if we'd like to, just make sure that the pivot is right where the hat is. So we can select the control, go to its LRA, go to the hat, and the hat group, that is. Hit insert so we can move its pivot and snap it where it needs to go. So that's right there at the center. Great. Now that this has been done, our next task is going to be to set up our constraints. Okay, after we even get rid of the LRA on that hat. So let's go ahead and set up our constraints. With our head first selected, that'll be in our first selection. Then we go to our world node, so we can control click that in our outliner, followed by the group of the hat. So we'll control click that group. And we'll go up to constrain and do a parent constraint again. Okay, so what happens next? Next we need to add our attribute. So we'll go up to modify and we'll go down to add attribute. From here we can make a displayable name. Okay, float, displayable. Only reason why I switched to float because since we're under enum, we would come up with names when we show the displayable, and it would probably say green. So I just like to either use float or boolean when doing these displayables. Just a preference of mine. It's not necessary at all. So of course we need to write driver for the category name, and we'll hit add. Then afterwards we write follow, not flow, but follow. There we are. And then of course now we can switch to enum. The green will be turned to hat, or head rather. Hit enter. The blue, that's going to be world. So change that to world and hit OK. So there it is, head, world. Now we do our set driven keys. So with our hat selected, go to our set driven key menu, load that up as the driver, select follow, and then we go to our hat group, open that up, select our constraint, and load that up as the driven. From there we select our weights. Okay, so our first one, second one for the head, one for the world. And of course the head we chose first, so we'll zero out the world and hit key selected. Now we go to our hat control, we go to world, we go to our parent constraint, we zero out our head, and we put in a value of 1 for the world and hit key. Great. Now all of this has been done. What do we get? Well, right now our head should be set to world. So if we try to move it around, try to move the head, notice, okay, it's not going to follow. Even if we try to move the upper body, all right, the head's going to stay right where it needs to. But what if we go ahead and switch this now to head? Now everything is going to follow just as we need to. So if we wanted to, again, we could take this hat, we can put it over to the side, okay, rotate it and move it over to the side of the character's head. Let's say he was one of those old school cool guys back in the day, so he has his hat tilted, and his hat will still follow the way we need it to. And of course if we set that back to world, it'll stay right where it's at, and there we go, everything is set up correctly. Of course after this, let's go ahead and zero those out. We also want to make sure that the hat will follow, so we'll do that. After all of these things are done, we can go ahead and close out everything excluding our scale and just test that out to make sure everything is still functioning properly. And it sure is. As we can see, we can go to our character move that around. Wonderful. Everything is moving just as we need it to. Well, with all of these things done, that does finish off the setup of the hat. So where does that leave us to? With that is, all we really have to do as far as adding more controls for the character's body is work on the arms. Okay, so we'll go ahead and set those up and make sure we have some finger controls. That'll give us pretty much maximum control over our fingers. And we will also need to work on some blend shapes so we can get his mustache moving around. And from there, you'll be able to create other blend shapes once we go over that concept. But we're pretty much just about done with this rig. We will also be setting up character sets and even set up a cool window to be able to easily switch between them. So that's, again, the completion of this lesson. And in the next lesson, we're ready to start work on our arms.